Shabbat Shalom Rabbatai. This is the Mishnah Yomi for Chet Nisan. I'm recording Erev Shabbat, so hopefully we can get a head start. We are continuing in Kilayim, in the fourth parak, Karachat, about Kilayim Kerem. We are on the fifth Mishnah. Now, in the fifth Mishnah, we're going to discover what actually is a Kerem. If you just had one vine, one grapevine, you couldn't call that a vineyard. What about two? What about three? And what's the arrangement they have to be in? Because recall, if you just have one vine or something that is less than a kerem, less than a vineyard, you only need to have a 6 tefachim space between your one grapevine and your other vegetables or your other crops. So if you have an actual kerem, then you need what we called in the last Mishnah avodat kerem, a 4 amma space, which is the workspace of the kerem. That's considered part and parcel of the vineyard itself. So if you have what's halachically constitutes a vineyard, you need to have a 4 amma gap between that vineyard and anything else. If you just have some vines, a couple vines in the backyard, you only need 6 tefachim. So this is a big difference, important to understand. So Mishnah Hey, notea shora shel chamesh gefanim. If one planted a row of 5 grapevines, Beit Shammai omrim kerem. Beit Shammai says this one row of 5 grapevines in a line counts as a vineyard. Beit Hillel omrim eno kerem. Beit Hillel says that's not a kerem yet. Ad shehei sham shtei shorot. It needs 2 rows. So if you had 5 vines in 2 rows, as we're going to see in the next Mishnah, that counts as a vineyard. Therefore, if someone plants within the 4 amot of a kerem, Beit Shammai arim kidesh shur achad. Beit Shammai says that creates a problem. It's mekadesh, not in the good sense, but in the bad sense, 1 row in that vineyard. So this is from the pasuk pen tikdash. Our Chachamim, they explain pen tukat esh. They say by Kilayim Kerem it says pen tikdash, lest it become kodesh. Now kodesh can mean holy, but it could also mean separated or sort of pushed aside, like a kadesha. So here it's tu kadesh, you have to burn it, is the result of it being tikdash. But since Beit Shammai says that 1 row can constitute a kerem, so if one planted illegally within 4 amot of that row, then that row becomes kadesh, has to be destroyed now because it's become kilayim, and the other vegetable or crop as well must be uprooted. So that's a bit of a leniency by Beit Shammai, is that only that 1 row, because it constitutes its own independent vineyard, which is planted next to something, is affected. Beit Hillel omrim kidesh teshro. Beit Hillel says because you need 2 rows to constitute a vineyard, the 2 rows next to the foreign invading species is what is affected. So it comes out that Beit Shammai is a bit of a leniency if something was planted in the 4 amot avodat kerem of a 1 row kerem. It affects only 1 row, but by Beit Shammai it affects 2 rows because 2 rows is the minimal size of the vineyard. As the Mishnah continues to explain in Mishnah Vav now. Perak Daled Mishnah Vav notea shtayim keneged shtayim. If you planted 2 opposite 2, so you have basically a box of 4 vines, and 1 vine in each corner of the box, basically. The achat yotze zanav, and 1 goes out a tail. Now, there's various ways to understand this, but it seems that 1 additional plant, the 5th plant, is in line with 1 of these rows of original plants. So it's sort of sticking out the side. If you see, there's a picture in the bottom of the Art Scroll Pocket Mishnah. It's just sitting there on the right side. Harez kerem. This counts as a kerem. Now, this is according to Beit Hillel, who needs 2 rows. So the minimal size of a kerem is 5 plants. Beit Shammai had said in the last Mishnah, all in 1 row counts. And Beit Hillel says 2 rows. So what do you have? You have 1 row of 2 and 1 row of 3, according to Beit Hillel. Shtayim keneged shtayim v'achad beintaim. If you had 2 opposite 2, but 1 in between them, so you end up with something like a letter chet, a letter ches, where you have 2 legs of 2. Those are the 2 rows, and then 1 sort of on the top or on the bottom. You can call it an English U, a Hebrew ches. We're multilingual here, at least bilingual. Then that would count. That shtayim keneged shtayim achad be'emsa eno kerem. So the Mishnah continues. That's not a kerem. So you have to have basically the box with 4 corners and then 1 going out like a tail, not the 2 rows of 2 and 1 in the middle. Or the achad be'emsa is like a dice, like a die that has the number 5 on it, that it has the box and then 1 smack in the middle, not coming out as a tail. So that's eno kerem. Ad shehei shtayim keneged shtayim v'achad yotze zanav. And the Mishnah repeats itself at the end until you have 2 by 2, the box, and 1 going out zanav like a tail, one coming out in line with one of the rows. And this apparently, if you look at an animal from the top, it's got the 4 legs and it's got a tail. However, in this case, the understanding is the tail is in line with one of the original rows, not in the middle. Chazak Baruch Hu Shabbat Shalom.